What up? This is Rama Screen, and in the anticipation of Haymaker, which arrives in theaters on digital and on demand January 29th, I'm here talking with the star, writer, director, producer, and editor of this film, Nick Sasso. How are you, Nick?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you for taking the time. Congratulations on the film. Now, I understand that when working on an independent film, sometimes you'd find yourself having to wear multiple hats. But my goodness, you're also the editor of this film. I mean, like, uh, did the experience of taking on those responsibilities ever get physically and emotionally draining, or was that whole process just rewarding the whole time to you?
It was really, I'm glad you said physically challenging because sitting at a desk editing for a year and doing visual effects on the movie, because I also did a bunch of the retouching and visual effects work, that was really, talk about like Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. It gets nuts, But yeah, I mean, it was all out of necessity. I had to get a movie made. It was always been a goal of mine. And so the less people you have to depend on, the more likely I guess it is that you'll get it done.
And what was the motivation behind this story?
Yeah, well, I had a couple other scripts that had come close to getting made and never quite got off the ground. So um, at the conclusion of the last one that I can come really close to, I said, how can I differentiate a project? And I'd always trained Muay Thai. It'd been something I'd been doing for many, many years. And acting was something I always loved to do, though I had prioritized writing and directing as where I was going to focus my energies. Because auditioning can be such a crazy process. I said, well, I've never really seen someone who can like really kick and punch this way in a movie. Like that would, if I'm making a small movie, maybe that would kind of look cool. So I kind of started there, and then it was like, okay, well, I want to do a fights. I want to show really cool fights, but I don't want to have a small audience. I want to kind of open it up. And so, what would be interesting for that kind of a character. And so from there, it just sort of developed into what it is uh, today.
Haymaker is part romance, part Muay Thai fight drama. I understand that your co-star Nomi Ruiz herself is a professional musician, singer, songwriter. So she effortlessly shines in those aspects of the film. But talk to me about your and Nomi's process of creating that on-screen chemistry between your characters.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, having Nomi, first of all, we couldn't have made this movie without her. Not only did she come on and offer just great performances as an actor and also as a musician, but she was also a producer on the movie. So she was a part of, sourcing certain actors, sorting certain locations, namely Greece, locations in New York City where she could perform, Mexico City. So all of that, she was a real collaborative partner in terms of getting this movie made. And in terms of our on-screen chemistry, it was really important that we established like what these characters, what arc they're on early on before we started shooting, because I'd had previous commercial music video experience. I knew that once you get on set, especially with a limited budget, um, you're not going to be able to sit there and do the kind of acting workshopping that you're going to need to do. So we spent several months rehearsing together and really tweaking the script with an acting coach, a great acting coach in New York City, Grace Kiley, and that's really where I think we honed the connection and the arc and like where those breaths and where those moments would be, so that when we got on set, we kind of already had in our heads where we needed to be for the scene and could focus on all the million other things that were happening around us, be it setting up lights or the truck over here. So yeah.
I know you touched on that earlier or on this earlier, but can you elaborate about the fight choreographies? Who coordinated that, and what was the significance of that part of the story to the overarching arc of the film?
Yeah, that was like a huge goal of ours because there's a lot of actual fighters in the movie. Brett Plavacek is a world-class fighter. We've got Sanchai, one of the greatest of all time in this movie. So we knew, and I knew especially, it's okay, if we're gonna do this movie, I got to do justice to this martial art that I love, and hopefully show it in a way that it hasn't been seen. Kind of prop it up a little bit because it's such a beautiful sport and an art. So yeah, it was really, really important that we do that. And when we cast Zoe in her role, Zoe Bell, the great Zoe Bell, in my wildest dreams, I don't think I would have expected or wished that she would actually take an interest in helping us with the final fight. But she did. We became friends through this whole process, and like, I think the fight at the end is what it is today because we had such great input and feedback and in time and at times direction from Zoe, who's just a wellspring of information and such a great collaborator.
I gotta ask about the soundtrack. Oh my god, so many catchy, emotionally soothing songs that accompany the film's reflective moments. When your character is alone with his thoughts. You're the director, so how did you come to select those songs, and was it challenging to acquire permission from those artists?
Oh yeah, that was like, yeah. I mean, you're asking some really great questions here. Yeah, when we set out to make this movie, we really were setting out to do something that was, when we first started Nomi and I talking, we were trying to do something that was a little bit more docu-narrative, more like the Safdie brothers Heaven Knows What, which was an inspiration to us. um, Little did we realize we were going to end up making this sort of melodramatic musical of sorts, because it's just kind of in a way what it is with the fight stuff. So it really was something that I kind of discovered as I started editing the movie, that it just sort of called for that. It sort of called for the scoring. We had great scoring from Chris Thomas. The great MB Gordy came out to provide percussions on this movie. In addition to Nomi's great music, her collaborations with Sam Sparrow, etc. So yeah, it was really something that we kind of discovered in post that the movie kind of wanted, and it kind of told us that's where we had to take it. And with regard to the clearance, we couldn't have done it without music and strategy. Our music supervisors, like, the producers are saying to themselves, like, what are you doing putting all this music in here? Like what? And luckily we had a great music supervisor, Greg McDonough, who was able to work his magic and his relationships and reach out to folks and say to them, look, we're trying to we're a scrappy little movie and we're trying to put this thing out there. Can you support us? And credits all those musicians who, like so many other people in this movie, really supported us. So yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah.
And finally, if somebody compares Haymaker to the 1992 classic film The Bodyguard, do you take that as a compliment? Is The
Yeah.
Bodyguard part of your influence for this one?
Um, I actually haven't seen The Bodyguard in a really long time. I think that there is a sort of familiar trope here that we played with. I would certainly take that as a compliment. Um, but yeah, like we never actually referenced it in the movie when we were making the movie. We referenced other things a lot more, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I mean, look, any comparison to such a legendary film like that would be great.
All right. For my fans at home, everybody go check out Haymaker, arriving in theaters, on digital, and on demand January 29th. Nick, thank you for talking to me and
Thank you
congratulations.
so much. Thank you.